Barack Obama has spoken of his legacy as he nears the end of his 8 years in power. According to the U.S. president, his biggest mistake was the aftermath of the 2011 Pentagon intervention in Libya.
Probably failing to plan for the day after what I think was the right thing to do in intervening in Libya.
An absence of action would have probably turned Libya into Syria, which I think would have been an even more dangerous situation.
Give us some perspective on how the threat is changing there from ISIS.
In Libya, the U.S. intelligence community has said it's around 4,000 to 6,000. It is probably about doubled in the last 12 to 18 months.
And now let's discuss it with Oliver Miles, former British ambassador to Libya. Thanks so much, Mr. Miles, for joining us here on International. So, do you agree with Obama that the collapse of the country since the intervention has been his biggest mistake in office?
No, I don't. I think it's rather strange that he didn't quite say that, did he? He said that his mistake was failing to plan the day after doing what he believed was right. I puzzled over those words, and of course he was answering a question on the hoof, so to speak. I don't think he was saying that the United Nations should not have intervened. And don't forget, it wasn't an American intervention. It was an intervention authorized by the United Nations and actually carried out by the Europeans and the Arabs. Nor, I think, was he saying that once the intervention was over, we should have intervened in a certain way, we should have tried to construct a new Libyan government or something like that. If he were to say that, I think he'd be flat wrong. But if he was simply saying, after the military intervention was over in September 2011, we should have thought more carefully about what was going to happen next, well, you can hardly disagree with that, but is that the biggest mistake a president ever makes? I should have thought that was for his staff rather than for the president.
But nonetheless, he didn't admit, though, that the intervention itself was a mistake, despite disastrous consequences. Then why are there no regrets about that?
He didn't say that. He said that he thought the decision was right, and I agree with him. I think it was right. He didn't say that he regretted intervening.
What about the state the country is in now? I mean, look at what's happening there now and the consequences of that intervention. Do you think that was the right thing to intervene back then?
Yes, I do think it was the right thing to do. I think it was a very difficult decision to take, and don't forget it.
Mr. Miles, why do you think that?
Because what happened, if you remember, because, let me answer the question, because if you remember, Gaddafi had said that he was going to use his heavy weaponry to kill people in Benghazi and the eastern part of the country as soon as he was able to do that, unless they surrendered. And I believe him. I think he was telling the truth. And the United Nations was faced with therefore with the prospect of a genocide, and they had to take action, or they had to take a decision very quickly. They weren't warned about it in advance.
Libya indeed was in a difficult situation back then, and nobody's going to argue with that. But, you know, toppling Gaddafi and then eliminating him was not going to solve Libya's problems. And look at the state that the country is in now.
Yes, but the state of the country you have now is something that nobody could have foreseen at that time. Of course, all sorts of possibilities could have been foreseen. The unique thing about Libya, and the reason I think why it's proved so difficult for a political solution to be found, is because all the institutions in Libya had been wiped out by Gaddafi. There were literally no institutions at all.
But who's responsible for what's happening in the country right now? Who should bear responsibility for that?
No question, the Libyans should be.
How so?
Well, who else? Who else? I mean, are we supposed to be running the world? Are we the world's
What about the
policemen?
Western
No, of course
countries?
not.
I mean, listen, don't they take responsibility for what's happening there? Weren't they part of the intervention?
No,
weren't they part of the initial decisions to intervene?
No, I don't accept that. I think that when David Cameron said late in 2011, we have now completed the military side of this operation, we've given the assistance that the Libyans needed, and now it's up to them to solve their own problems.
It's
I think
all
he was
right.
absolutely right.
It's all right to come in, make a mess, and then leave and say that it's up to you now to clean it up.
You say to come in and make a mess.
Sure.
The mess that we cleared up was a very important mess, and the result was a terrible tyrant was overthrown, and Libya was given a chance to develop
what's
a
happening
new
there now? I mean,
country,
what's
if you like,
happening in the
state.
country? Of course, there's a human catastrophe there, but
Are
who's
you
going to
arguing
bear? No, I'm just stating the fact that the country is in chaos.
No, you're not just stating a fact. You're suggesting that we should intervene now. I just don't accept it. We'd make it worse if we intervened now, wouldn't we? And when you say we, who's going to intervene? Britain, America, Russia, the United Nations, the Arabs? No. Leave it to the Libyans to sort out their problems.
Well, that's certainly an interesting point of view. Let's leave it there because we're running out of time. But that was Oliver Miles, former British ambassador to Libya, talking to us and sharing his views on the future of the country and its president, in fact. Thank you.